The 27th of July, 2025, Oslo, Norway. In a hushed room where history whispers, the Nobel Peace Committee unveils its shortlist, and the world freezes. A 36-year-old soldier from Burkina Faso, who sees power in a coup, emerges as the frontrunner. Ibrahim Traoré, no silver spoon, no Ivy League polish, just raw conviction. Endorsed by the Pope, praised by rivals, he's turning battlefields into farmlands. But is this a trap for Africa's rising star, or the dawn of a new era? Dive deep with us into the twists, the triumphs, and the threats, because by the end, you'll question everything you know about power, peace, and who really holds the reins. In the crisp morning light of Oslo, on July 27th, 2025, the Nobel Peace Committee gathered in a modest chamber overlooking the fjords. This wasn't just any announcement. It was a seismic shift in global narratives. As the committee's chairperson read the short list of 5 names, the room, and soon the world, held its breath. Among visionaries and diplomats stood an outlier. Ibrahim Traoré, the interim president of Burkina Faso. At just 36, he became the first leader under 40 from Africa, risen through a military coup, to be seriously considered for the world's most coveted peace honor. Whispers turned to roars across newsrooms, social media exploding with hashtags like hashtag Traoré Nobel and hashtag Africa Rising. How could a man from one of the planet's poorest nations, without the backing of elite institutions or electoral mandates, capture this spotlight? The answer lies not in controversy, but in a crystal-clear vision of peace forged through sweat and sacrifice. Traoré's story defies the script of modern leadership. Born in a rural village, he wasn't groomed for power in marble halls. A trained soldier with a background in geology, he returned his roots amid Burkina Faso's turmoil. In September 2022, amid escalating violence and economic despair, Traoré led a coup against a faltering regime, not for personal glory, but driven by what he called the conscience of the people. Critics labeled it undemocratic. Supporters saw it as salvation. Fast forward 3 years, and the Nobel Committee hailed him as a rare figure in the modern world, one who wields power not to divide, but to dignify. His battlefield, not borders, but hunger, poverty, and inequality. He elevated women, educated youth, and empowered farmers in ways that echoed ancient virtues of labor and truth. But what sparked this global frenzy? The nomination challenged everything, from Western assumptions about legitimate governance to the very definition of peace in a polarized era. As the news broke, reactions cascaded like dominoes. In the bustling streets of Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso's capital, crowds gathered in disbelief and pride. "This is our moment," one vendor told reporters, holding a sign that read "Peace from the Soil." Yet, the ripple extended far beyond Africa's Sahel region. In Washington, diplomats scrambled to respond, with U.S. Secretary of State Janet R. Collins issuing a measure statement. "We acknowledge Mr. Traoré's efforts toward stability." Beneath the diplomacy lurked unease. His rejection of IMF loans and foreign mining firms poked at the liberal economic order. Paris, Burkina Faso's former colonial power, offered cautious praise from President Louis Macron. "We may not agree with his methods, but the results speak." It was a grudging nod to a post-colonial reality where Africa dictates its terms. Moscow weighed in with pragmatic approval, Russian officials calling Traoré a builder of belief. Even Brazil's President Luiz G. Costa went bold, dubbing him the new Sankara, referring Burkina Faso's iconic revolutionary Thomas Sankara. Costa shared a personal anecdote. "I called him that, but he corrected me. I'm just a farmer in uniform." This resonated across the global South, bridging Latin America's anti-imperialist struggles with Africa's renaissance. Skeptics emerged too. Some in Europe whispered of a trap by the West to co-opt a rising anti-colonial voice. Reports even surfaced of Traoré rejecting the prize outright, viewing it as a tool of influence, though his team denied it, fueling more intrigue. Why the divide? Because Traoré's rise exposes cracks in the global system. Can true peace come from coups, or must it always wear a suit and tie? Then came the bombshell that elevated the story to spiritual heights. On July 1st, 2025, during the Feast of All Saints, an unexpected voice rang from the Vatican. Pope Leo XIV, a pontiff known for championing social justice, paused his homily to spotlight Traoré. "When I pray for peace," he intoned, the face of a young soldier from Burkina Faso appears. He preaches not through scriptures, but through sweat and soil. The world's poor are his sanctuary. This wasn't mere praise. It was the Holy See's first official endorsement of a sitting African leader for the Nobel. The Vatican's nomination framed Traoré's coup-born rule as a path to redemption, challenging doctrines of power and forgiveness. Diplomatic circles buzzed. How could the church back a military man? It shifted the discourse. Peace isn't just treaties in conference rooms. It's sown in villages, healed through community. This papal seal transformed Traoré from regional rebel to global icon. Social media erupted with analyses. TikToks dissecting his farmer in uniform ethos. Forums debating if this signals Africa's pivot from aid dependency. Yet, questions linger, building like storm clouds. What radical moves propelled him here? How did he reconcile terrorists without firepower? And could this nomination unravel under geopolitical pressure? As Oslo's decision looms on December 10th, Traoré's tale isn't just inspiring. It's a mirror forcing us to ask, in a world of photo ops and proxy wars, can a soldier's shovel truly forge lasting peace? Hold that thought. The real revolution begins next. In Burkina Faso's dusty heart, where the Sahel's arid winds carve stories into the earth, a revolution blooms. Not with gunfire, but with shovels, classrooms, and hope. Ibrahim Traoré, the 36-year-old soldier-turned-statesman, has done what many deemed impossible. Turned a nation battered by violence and poverty into a beacon of self-reliance. Since seizing power in September 2022, his reforms have not only reshaped Burkina Faso, but sent shockwaves across Africa and beyond. How does a man with no political pedigree rewrite a country's destiny in 3 years? Buckle up. This is the story of radical vision rooted in gritty, tangible action, and it's about to challenge everything you think you know about peace. When Traoré took the reins in 2022, Burkina Faso was a tinderbox. Militant violence had displaced millions, hunger-stalked villages, and foreign corporations gripped the nation's resources like a vice. Most leaders would have leaned on international aid or military crackdowns. Traoré chose neither. His strategy was as bold as it was simple: peace through self-reliance. First, he tackled the cycle of violence head-on, not with more bullets, but with reconciliation. Over 12,000 former militants, once branded terrorists, were brought back into the fold through community dialogues, vocational training, and resettlement programs. Instead of prison cells or battlefields, these men and women found purpose in workshops and farms. Traoré's logic was piercing. A man with a plow doesn't need a rifle. This wasn't just de-radicalization. It was a masterclass in healing wounds that could have bled for generations. Then came the land. In a move that sent tremors through global boardrooms, Traoré returned 3.8 million hectares of farmland, snatched years ago by foreign corporations, back to Burkina Faso's farmers. Picture it. Fields once locked behind corporate gates now tilled by local hands, growing millet and sorghum for families, not profit margins. The land belongs to those who work it, he declared, a line that could have been ripped from a revolutionary's manifesto. This wasn't just about agriculture. It was a defiant reclaiming of economic sovereignty. By rejecting foreign exploitation, Traoré sent a message louder than any speech. Burkina Faso would feed itself, stand tall, and bow to no one. His ambition didn't stop at borders. Traoré spearheaded the Sahel Life Alliance, a coalition with Niger and Mali that's as audacious as it sounds. Together, they planted 800 million trees across the Sahel's parched expanse, a green rebellion against climate change and desertification. These aren't just saplings, they're lifelines, stabilizing soil, reviving ecosystems, and offering shade to communities scorched by a warming planet. Imagine the sight. Once barren landscapes dotted with new forests, a testament to what unity and grit can achieve. This wasn't some feel-good environmental stunt. It was a strategic strike against a future where drought could choke the region's dreams. Back home, Traoré's fiscal discipline was surgical. He slashed government spending by 60%, gutting bureaucratic bloat and redirecting funds to where they mattered most: people. In just 18 months, Burkina Faso saw 2,400 new schools and 700 healthcare centers rise from the ground, a pace that left neighbors stunned. Picture children who once studied under trees now sitting in classrooms, their lunches sourced from local farms. Traoré's masterstroke was tying nutrition to education. 95% of rural primary school children now get free meals, made from crops grown by their own communities. It's a cycle of empowerment. Farmers feed students. Students fuel the future. Every plate served as a brick in the foundation of a new Burkina Faso. Perhaps his boldest move came on May 4th, 2025. Traoré pardoned 1,100 former militants and folded them into the Farmers of Peace program. These weren't just ex-fighters. They were men and women given tools, seeds, and a purpose to cultivate life instead of chaos. The United Nations, not exactly known for hyperbole, called it a model for the world. Picture former insurgents once feared, now irrigating maize fields along the Nadanon River, their overalls emblazoned with Farmers of Peace. It's the kind of image that makes you wonder, what if peace isn't just the absence of war, but the presence of purpose? These aren't abstract policies. They're stories etched in sweat and soil. In villages, mothers no longer flinch at night, fearing gunfire. Farmers, once landless, now harvest crops on their own terms. Children, bellies full, pore over books in new schools. Traoré's reforms aren't just numbers. They're lives transformed. Yet, the stakes are sky high. His rejection of foreign loans and corporate influence has made enemies in powerful places. Whispers of pushback grow. Some say global powers might try to derail this upstart who dares defy their playbook. Can a soldier's vision withstand the weight of geopolitics? As the Nobel decision looms on December 10th, 2025, Traoré's revolution raises a question that burns. Is this the blueprint for a new Africa or flame too bright to last? His reforms have turned despair into dignity, but the world's watching and not everyone's cheering. What's next for this farmer in uniform? And what does it mean for a continent ready to write its own story? Stay tuned. The ripple effects are just beginning, and they're about to shake the globe. The sun dips below Ouagadougou's horizon, painting the sky in hues of fire and hope. In Burkina Faso's capital, the night hums with defiance. Tens of thousands gather, their homemade lanterns flickering like stars, chanting one name, Ibrahim Traoré. From Thomas Sankara Square to the Nadanon River's banks, a nation once fractured by fear now pulses with pride. This isn't just a celebration of a Nobel nomination. It's a declaration of a new Africa, one that dares to dream beyond aid, debt, and despair. Traoré's vision has ignited a fire across the Sahel, but can it withstand the storms gathering on the global stage? Let's dive into the electric aftermath of his rise and uncover what it means for a continent rewriting its destiny. The announcement of Traoré's Nobel nomination on July 27, 2025 wasn't just news. It was a thunderclap. In Ouagadougou, the city refused to sleep. Vendors slung bissap and roasted peanuts. Drummers pounded rhythms older than colonial statues nearby. And a hand-painted banner proclaimed, "We no longer beg. Now the world comes to us." Radio booths crackled with callers shouting, "C'est la victoire." Traoré's victory was theirs. Mothers wept, not from sorrow but relief, knowing their children now learn in schools Traoré built, safe from the gunfire that once haunted the night. Along the Nadanon, former militants, now in Farmers of Peace overalls, pumped irrigation from maize fields, not checkpoints. This wasn't just Burkina Faso's moment. It was the Sahel's. The celebration spilled beyond borders. In Niamey and Bamako, youth projected Traoré's speeches onto public walls, chanting, "One Sahel, one dream." Impromptu dance circles spun past midnight in drought-stricken hamlets, where electricity fades at dusk. The message was raw. If Burkina Faso, ranked among the world's poorest, could reclaim its dignity, so could they. Yet, not everyone danced. Elders in villages whispered of new pressures. Global recognition often comes with strings. Skeptics noted the irony. A cool leader hailed as a peacemaker. But even they couldn't deny the numbers. Terror attacks plummeting, crop yields soaring, clinics opening, children fed. Neighbors once divided by ethnicity now planted saplings together, each tagged with Liberté, Travail, Dignite, The very next day, July 28th, Traoré stood shoulder to shoulder with the leaders of Mali and Niger in Ouagadougou's sun-baked capital. Their joint press conference wasn't just diplomacy. It was a manifesto. They called Traoré's nomination not a personal glory, but proof Africa can break free from a history written by others. Then came the bombshell. The Joint Civil Command of the Sahel, a new institution to coordinate food security, post-conflict resettlement, and rural health care across their nations. This wasn't about military might. It was agriculture, education, and local media uniting a region. Guinea, Chad, and Togo sent congratulations, hinting Traoré's model of self-reliance and debt rejection could reshape the African Union's playbook. The AU itself faced a reckoning. Delegates debated its rapid response mechanism, designed to isolate coup-born governments. One commissioner, speaking anonymously, put it bluntly, "We can't judge leaders by how they rise, but by the roads they build." Traoré's results, schools, clinics, reconcile fighters, force a rethink. Could Africa prioritize outcomes over dogma? Meanwhile, in Europe and the U.S., diplomats tiptoed around Traoré's legitimacy. While voicing concerns about democratic norms, some envoys quietly admired his sovereign path. International lenders, one spurned by Burkina Faso's IMF exit, reopened talks, a grudging nod to a nation no longer on its knees. This wasn't just politics. It was a cultural earthquake. In Bamako, Accra, and Kinshasa, students held vigils, their hashtag Nobel for Africa trending globally. In Lagos, a student tweeted, "Traoré didn't wear a suit. He wore boots. He didn't go to Davos. He went to the fields." Johannesburg's university campuses erupted with Fields of Peace, an art exhibit of paintings and poetry inspired by Traoré's agricultural revolution. Pan-African leaders from Mali, Niger, Guinea, and Chad issued a joint statement. If he wins, it's not one man's victory. It's a continent's vindication. A farmer president is stronger than a president in exile. Newspapers called it a slap to the old order, not just of global politics, but of how Africa sees itself. The stakes are dizzying. Traoré's rejection of foreign debt and corporate control has made him a hero to the global south, but a wild card to the west. Some whisper of a backlash. Geopolitical giants rarely tolerate defiance. Will they try to clip his wings before the Nobel ceremony on December 10th, 2025? Or is this the dawn of an African renaissance, where nations write their own stories? Traoré's balcony speech in Ouagadougou said it all. This nomination belongs to every mother feeding her child from her field, every youth choosing a shovel over a rifle. We build peace to survive, not to impress. As the world watches Oslo, Traoré's story is more than a prize. It's a mirror. It asks, can a continent long exploited rise on its own terms? Can peace be planted, not just preached? The answers lie in Burkina Faso's fields, in the Sahel's new forests, in the classrooms buzzing with hope. Want to follow this revolution as it unfolds? Subscribe to Africa's Power for stories of a continent reclaiming its future, one shovel, one dream, one truth at a time.